and I'll cut that into the theme song.
GrandPOOBear.
And Alan talking about movies. They may be best friends, but they always disagree.
GrandPOOBear.
And Alan, I seen that.
So you're on Twitch, right? Is that where you mostly?
Yes, Twitch and YouTube.
And what's your Twitch? How can people find you?
Twitch.tv/GrandPOOBear or YouTube GrandPOOBear, or that's it.
How long?
Those are my spots.
How long have you been streaming? When did you get into that?
4 years. I've been partnered for 2.
Okay, cool. And so I reached out to you because you speedrun Mario, right? Is that probably your biggest?
I speedrun Mario 3, Mario World, different Mario games.
So originally I wanted to talk to you about Super Mario Brothers, but you had mentioned you'd rather talk about The Wizard.
I like The Wizard more than the Mario Brothers movie.
So I don't know. Yeah. I don't remember if I had seen this growing up. I feel like I did, but I had to rewatch it yesterday to get all caught back up on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I expected it to be awful. And it was...
It's not that bad.
Yeah, it was surprisingly good. It's definitely a product of the time.
Yeah. And it's 100% like product placement. Like, beautiful product placement all over.
Was it made by Nintendo?
I have to feel like they had something to do with it.
Yeah. Cause it was, it was all about Nintendo. Almost every other shot, there was something, either a cartridge or, the game or the Power Glove, which I thought was super funny that they tried to make that seem super awesome. But, it was actually a lot better than I expected. The one problem I had with it is I did not see anyone blow into the cartridge.
Well, that's bad for video games. Like, you're not actually supposed to do that. Like, that's like Nintendo's very adamant that you're not supposed to blow in the cartridges. And eventually it'll degrade your cartridge. And that's why like a lot of Nintendos stopped working, is because people blew in them.
Really?
Which is funny.
Cause that's the only way.
The water. Yeah, like you get a little bit of spit in there or something, and it's a big myth. It's a big myth. You're just getting lucky whenever you pull it out and put it back in.
Is that all it is? It's not dusty?
I guess it could be, but it doesn't. You're degrading it more.
Yeah.
Making it worse. Yeah. But it's just one of those things. It's really funny. With that being said, like, even to this day, if mine doesn't work, I still blow in it. So, but I get why Nintendo wouldn't want that in there. Cause I have to assume they had something to do with it. Yeah. Something to do with it. Unless
they know that they won't work and they want you to buy another one. It's just a big conspiracy.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
So at the end of the game, or the end of the movie, they get into playing Mario 3.
Mm-hmm.
And how accurate is it? So I was curious, you run, for the entire game, right? You try to beat the level as fast as possible.
My job, my little professional job is playing through Mario 3 specifically fast. Sorry, I had to turn off. Sorry. My professional job is playing through Mario 3 fast. That's what I do for a living. Yeah.
So they were playing for points.
Yes.
Which seemed strange, like a strange way to go about it.
Well, in the 80s, that's how you did gaming. Like all professional gaming in the 80s was mostly about points. Because that was, most people were like playing in arcades and other stuff. So that was the only, you didn't have like a stopwatch right there. So it wasn't about speed running back then. Speedrunning didn't get popular really until, the internet came around and people had computers to time, like extra monitors to time their run, with it. And it really started like Quake. And then an in-game timer was Super Metroid. And those two games really became popular because they gave you a way to arbitrarily keep your time. Like the only other game I can think of in the 80s that was quote unquote speed ran in any way is like Punch Out. Because it's Punch Out and Dragster because Punch Out gives you an in-game time, and Dragster, that's the only way to play the game. It's just like, you're just drag racing. So, those are the only two games in the 80s. Like everything in the 80s is about high score.
Have you ever tried to beat their high score in 10 minutes? Is it possible?
No, actually I've never, that's really funny. I could definitely do it, cause Weirdly enough, I actually know the guy who holds the world record at Mario 3 high score. So, his name's Glitch Cat. I think he still owns the record. Anyway, I've watched people do the high score run, and it's actually a lot of stuff we use in speedrunning. It's just ultra super slow. So it's kind of interesting. In high score, and you actually have to beat the game too. That's part of the requirement. So yeah, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, because in the movie, I feel like they only got to like the third world.
Well, yeah, because and he did that. He did that because he explored and he found a super secret whistle, which up to this point the game had never come out. Like nobody had played Mario 3 in America, so that was like already a spoiler in the movie.
See, I don't remember.
Like, no,
I don't remember if I played Mario 3. I definitely played the original. I played 2, which was awful. I hated Mario 2. With, what's the dinosaur's name? Why can't I remember that? Birdo. Yeah, thank you. I hated that one. And then Super Mario World, and then beyond that, I played a lot of them. But I feel like I missed out on 3.
Oh, see, Mario 3, to me, is the greatest not just greatest Mario game, but like greatest video game of all time. It's to me like as perfect as a video game can be. It's totally, so you can beat it in one sit down. It gives you options to beat it in 10 minutes. Like anybody can do it. It gives you power ups and rewards exploring, and also is kind of built to go fast. And I don't know. I know I'm biased a little bit that Mario 3 is cause it's my favorite game. I've dedicated part of my life to it now, but it's the greatest video game of all time. You should totally check it out. And some side note about Mario 2 is that it's actually Mario 2 here is a different game in Japan. It's called Doki Doki Panic.
Yeah.
And they reskinned it to be Mario 2 over here, because the original Mario 2, which is known as the Lost Levels here, was deemed too hard for our puny American hands.
Oh, is that what it was? I thought it was.
Yeah. In their defense, like Mario Lost Levels is super hard. Like it really is hard.
Yeah.
So
I thought they did Mario 1 and it was successful, and they're like, we got to do number 2, and so they grabbed what is now Mario 2 here, but they just like, let's just make this look like Mario.
Yeah, no, I mean, they did that. I mean, the original Mario 2 is Super Mario Brothers 2, and it's on like the Famicom and Japanese systems, and it's been released here in America a bunch of different ways now. But yeah, no, they literally just didn't release it because they thought it was too hard for Americans and we wouldn't like it, because we couldn't beat it. It was very hard, very, very difficult. Like even to this day, I still think it's one of the harder video games out there.
Is it harder than like the Kaizo levels?
The joke is it's the original Kaizo ROM hack. Everything that's in like Kaizo Mario stuff today, or like when you see like that crazy Mario Maker stuff, like everything that's in there pretty much is in the original game. Like required jumping off shells and hidden blocks that are really douchey and stuff like that. Yeah.
And so Kaizo, correct me if I'm wrong, it means rearranged, right? Like
Kaizo means rearranged more or less it means rearranged, but we've kind of like stolen it and it kind of means hard here now. Yeah. It's like a synonym for hard as well.
When did you get into
but in its direct translations rearranged. Yeah.
When did you get into doing Kaizo stuff? Did you do that before you got into Mario 3, or was Mario 3 first?
No, I did Mario 3 first, and then once Mario Maker came out, a viewer actually just sent me this level by this creator named Panga. And Mario Maker, you can create all your own Mario Maker or own Mario levels, and this guy sent me one by this kid named Panga, and I just became obsessed with everything he did. And it was all like this crazy Kaizo stuff with hidden blocks and like really hard, difficult tricks, and I just fell in love with the whole thing, and then just immersed myself into that and ROM hacks and speed running and everything else. Yeah.
Is it? So it's mostly it's just doing it over and over and over until it becomes muscle memory, right? Or is it with the really hard Kaizo stuff?
Yeah, pretty much. You just, you got a little bit of knowledge helps, being able to act on the fly helps, and, otherwise, yeah, it's just it's like anything else. The more you practice it, the better you get at it.
Yeah. So getting back to the wizard, one of the things I noticed or I thought was funny was how everyone was just kind of a dirtbag. All the kids, everyone was mean, everyone was a jerk. And it just reminded me so much of the 90s perspective of kids. Like, kids are all jerks, and this is the world we live in.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was a pretty common theme of, like, I don't know, like, I think, like, all movies that involved kids in, like, Ferris Bueller, like, you have, like, the adorable kind of, like, hero kid, and then every other kid around him is mean to him, you know what I mean? Like, every other kid is a douchebag, and he's the only nice one around. And, I think that definitely plays true in The Wizard. It's such a funny movie. It's just, I don't know. I love this movie so much.
I watched it and I had the impression that it was a post-apocalyptic movie. Like, it did not feel like the real world. It felt like I was watching like the Book of Eli, just very less serious.
I have this like theory that the whole movie's filmed in Nevada. Cause I know they go to Nevada, you know, they have like the part where they're in Reno, in the movie. But it just feels like when they're traveling like across the country, like it feels like they're always in Nevada, you know, like it doesn't ever feel like they're like going through Nebraska or any sort of green. It just always feels like it is like in this dirty, it looks like Fallout. Honestly.
Yeah.
It kind of does.
And just the way the kids, cause I feel like if you saw, cause the youngest kid had to be what, 8?
I don't even know if he's 8 in the movie. Maybe.
Yeah, like right around there, maybe younger than that, but like really young just to be hitchhiking. Yeah. And his brother and the girl are probably like 13.
Yeah.
Like, I can't imagine a hitchhiker picking them up. I can't imagine a bus driver allowing the girl to sell her ticket back. Like all the stuff that happens, I'm just like, this is so crazy. No one should let kids do any of this stuff.
Well, this is the 80s before we knew about the, you know, like we just had a lot less knowledge of what was going on in the world here in the 80s. You know, we were more trusting, you know, now we have the internet. We hear every bad news that happens. So we understand the people that are out there. And yeah, it is pretty lucky that none of these kids get, you know, kidnapped and murdered at any point in this movie. I have to say. I mean, but, you know, I have to think that they're not the only kids that didn't get kidnapped. There's only just a 50% success rate on that hitchhiking across the country in the 80s.
Well, they get,
you know,
they kind of get kidnapped at one point, but the truck driver like pulls off behind something and robs them. Then they get beat up at another point.
Yeah.
And, do they get beat up twice? No, they can just get beat up once.
I think they get beat up once. I think they get beat up right before they meet their girlfriend. Before they meet Haley.
I think it's after.
Yeah.
I think
it's after. Okay,
I think so, because they're all together at that point. It might be right at the same time. I mean, it doesn't really matter, but it's so crazy to me. Just the whole movie. It's really good. It's really funny, and it's much more. I wasn't expecting it to be emotionally effective at all, but it was.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, the kid, you know, like the movie, it lives on because it's about Nintendo in a lot of ways. Cause it is it's very much so like product placement all over the movie. You know, they advertise Ninja Gaiden multiple times. They advertise RC Pro-Am. They advertise a bunch of games that you could only find on the Nintendo Entertainment System. And then each like diner and rest stop and bar and everywhere these kids go, not bar, but like anywhere these kids stop throughout their travel also magically has like a Nintendo. I remember there's one point where they're eating at a diner and they have a Nintendo like at the table at the diner, and it's just like a pay for Nintendo, like one of those little like diner jukeboxes that they had back in the 50s. But it's a Nintendo, and I'm like, where is this Magic Diner on my road trips? You know, like that has this. But like we remember it for those Nintendo things, but it actually is like at the end of the day, like it's a story about a little boy who kind of loses himself after his sister dies. And that's in kind of a quest to like put her to rest in some ways, and you don't realize that until the very end of the movie, honestly.
Yeah, well, because I got to the end right before they got to the dinosaur park or whatever, and I was like, well, I don't get why the kid wanted to go to California. Like, they never answered that because I thought the movie was done. I was like, this is a big, this is a big plot hole here. That this kid was walking to California all by himself, and they just don't answer it. And then they get to it, and I was like, oh man, this is too sad.
Yeah. Yeah, the kid's whole obsession is going to California to basically put his sister's memories to give her like a final resting place. It's kind of, it tugs at your heartstring once you realize what's going on, you know? And it also makes you feel really bad that like they've been exploiting this kid for his video game skills. Like, he's, you know, like this poor kid who's, you know, obviously on the, you know, somewhere, you know, suffering some emotional disorder at this point. Like, it's just like, you know?
Yeah, no, it's crazy. Also the guy, this was another thing I found crazy about this movie. The guy who was looking not for both kids, just for the one. He got hired by the mom to go and find Jimmy, but he was like, I'm not going to worry about the other kid. He wants to be lost. And I was like, how do you say that about a little kid? And then,
I know, it's yeah, there's not the best private eye they hired.
No, and then he tells the dad, so the dad and the mom had gotten divorced, and the mom got remarried, and had their stepbrothers, the two kids on the journey. The private eye tells the dad of both kids, don't get in my way. I'm gonna earn my money. You don't get in my way. And I was just like, man, if that was someone telling me about my kids who were lost, I'd end up in prison. It would be really bad.
Yeah, it's it's that whole part, like, it's like a weird rivalry. Like, wouldn't they be working together in some shape, form, or fashion? Like, I think that's also like the 80s idea of, like, the 80s movie idea of divorce too. You know, I think that we had this period of time where, like, if you saw divorced people in movies, like, they hated each other, you know? Like, it wasn't like there was no, like, you know, no modern family dynamic in movies up to that point, you know?
Yeah. Oh man, it was, that time, movies back then were just always just so crazy. Like, it was, they were never, just kind of normal. Like, they never represented real life. Like, I feel like if people in 100 years go and look at movies back then, they're going to have such a different perspective of what life was actually like.
100%, yeah. I mean, you can say that for movies now, even. Like, I don't think anyone's going to go and watch Transformers. Like, holy God, they had giant robots back then. This is amazing.
Yeah, I just went and saw the second Kingsman.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I guess if they're looking at our lives based on that, it would be a very interesting way of looking at it. But
yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely an 80s movie, 100%. And it's a 80s family movie that is just a giant product placement. You know, but it is kind of crazy. It also had, I don't know if you picked up on it, but Tobey Maguire is in it.
Is he?
He's one of the kids. Yeah, he's one of the he's one of the mean kids. He's one of the little goon kids. And Christian Slater's the older brother.
Yeah.
So it's got some, like,
I thought Christian Slater, I don't know how old he was in this. He looked pretty young, but I just thought it was so funny that he always has sounded like a 45-year-old smoker. Like, he's always had that same voice. It's like, I assume it happened right when he was like 12. He had like this little boy voice, and then he turned into Christian Slater instantly. Like, I think it was overnight.
Yeah, he's he was definitely an older brother in that movie, 100%.
Yeah, and their journey was interesting. The Christian Slater and the dad, because they were traveling together, and their relationship was like non-existent when it started, and they built a relationship on top of video games, and just traveling and looking for, because Christian Slater was he was supposed to be watching the kids when the sister went swimming or fell in the river and drowned. And so it's kind of his fault, which seemed really heavy for this movie to put forth.
Yeah, the movie is the backstory of it with the dead sister is very heavy. I mean, like it's like everything to the movie. Like it's the reason the parents got divorced. It's the reason the kid, little Jimmy, like kind of loses his mind. It's the reason he wants to go to California and keeps running away. Like everything is it. You kind of forget it because they don't really like. I don't know. Like I only as an adult did I ever even pick up on that part of the story, and maybe it's just because I was so obsessed with video games as a kid. But like only rewatching it as an adult is that even something I even picked up on. I feel like they don't want to harp on that. I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like just enough to make you understand, but not like beating you over the head with it constantly. Mm-hmm. Which I appreciate because it makes the story a lot stronger. And I feel like that's something that's kind of gotten lost to where they don't, well, I don't know. I guess Disney is pretty good at ripping your heart out every time they make a movie. Like the first 5 minutes of Up is the saddest thing I've ever seen. I was like just about to get married and I was like, it just destroyed me. I was like, oh, I did not need that in my life right now.
Yeah, it's heavy. Yeah. It's heavy. I don't know. I'm glad I didn't pick up on it as a kid. I might not like the movie as much as I did growing up. All I ever really thought about as a kid was just like, oh my God, how good is this kid at video games? He beat Ninja Gaiden without getting hit once. Like that's what I literally thought of as a kid.
Were you good at video games growing up?
I mean, not as good as I am now. I guess I was good at video games growing up. I didn't have a way to like compare myself to anybody else. I was always the best one I knew at video games growing up. So,
do you think if you could go back in time and tell your younger self that you play video games professionally, that you would believe it?
Probably not. No. If you would have told me 3 years ago that I would be doing it professionally, even when I was like doing it amateurly, I wouldn't have believed it.
Yeah.
Honestly. Yeah. It's kind of a really wild thing. You know, what's really funny is the tournament they have, Video Game Armageddon is the tournament they have in the movie.
Yeah.
And we always joke, it's like, it's the quote unquote Nintendo World Championships. And, the only time they did it was when Mario 3 was released, like the movie. Uh-huh. And then they did it again when Mario Maker was released. And I missed out on both of those now. And they're doing it again this year. I don't know why. And I really want to go to it this year is what I want to do. Like, I really want to go badly. So.
What do you have to do to get into that?
There was like qualifiers, but there weren't any around my city. So they also invite people. So I'm hoping I just get invited this year.
Yeah.
That's what I'm really hoping. Yeah. I just get invited. I don't have to earn my way like Jimmy.
I would imagine that you have sold quite a few copies of Mario Maker.
I hope so. I hope so. I mean, I think our relationship has probably been mutually beneficial, me and Nintendo's. I don't know if they see it that way, but I definitely do.
When you started Twitch, when you started doing streaming games and stuff, did you have a moment where you're like, I'm going to do this full time, or did it take off and you're like, oh, well, I guess I can do this full time? Like, do you know what I'm saying? Was there a point where you're like, this seems kind of risky to jump into, or was it already taken off when you decided?
Yeah, I never thought it would be a job. Like, I never thought it would ever get into a job. And once it did, like, it was, eventually it just got to a point where I was costing myself money not doing it compared to my other job at the time, which I was announced. So I was a snowboarder before this. I got hurt. I had a really bad accident. And once that ended, I was like bouncing around gigs. I was like waiting tables. I was in the hospital for 6 months. So I got out of the hospital and, waiting tables, doing other things. And then I started announcing, I kind of like fell into announcing gigs. And that led to me announcing stuff for different casinos and different events like MMA stuff and things like that. And eventually the Twitch was going to those announcing gigs felt like I was losing money on Twitch. And besides that, I was just like way more into Twitch because it was like, it was mine. It was my own. I had fun doing it. And, eventually it just got to the point where, if I kept taking these announcing gigs, it was almost like costing me money. So that's kind of what happened. Yeah. It honestly, like nobody watched me for 2 or 3 years on streaming. And then, when I started playing Mario, which I always played, but like when I started playing Mario Maker, like, I don't know, it was the game that people, for whatever reason, started watching me. Like I always had problems just having people click on my stream. Which I think is the hardest part about Twitch or podcasting or anything else is just getting the initial little buzz or community.
Yeah. I would imagine, cause Mario Maker is so interesting cause you can jump into that whenever, right? Like if you're playing like Final Fantasy VIII or something like that and it's going to take you 30 hours and someone starts watching halfway through, it kind of, if you're interested in the story of the game at all, it's like, oh, well, I'm not going to watch this. With Mario Maker, it's a new short story every single time you start a level.
I call them journeys. Like they're like mini journeys each time. Yeah.
What?
And that's totally exactly what it is. And it's, I don't know, it's really cool. And like Mario Maker 2, with the other great thing about it is like, everyone knows Mario. It's like very easy to know. It doesn't take any explanation. For anybody, virtually anybody in the world. He's one of the most recognizable characters, period, in the world at this point. And it's not, it doesn't take explanation like League of Legends or games like that, to an average person, I guess. It's Mario Maker is very appealing. The other thing it has that's got going for it is like the magic sauce, which is giving you consistent yet different content every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's always the same in some ways, but it's also always different, which is, very, very appealing, I think, to people.
Yeah, it's kind of like a more linear Minecraft. You got a lot of tools where you can use your imagination, but.
Totally. Side note, Notch who's the creator of Minecraft, is a big fan of Mario Maker, so.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, he watches, pretty much all the Mario Maker guys. Yeah, he watches a lot of it.
Do you feel like people don't take you serious playing video games as a career? Do you see it as a career? Or do you see it as a job?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, I see it as a career. I thought it would be a job. When I first went full time, I thought like, all right, maybe we can make this work for 6 or 7 months. But Twitch and content creation and YouTube, and I think like even more so than that, like, I'm not saying this is for the better in the world in any shape, form, or fashion, but I think content is going away from not content, but like people are getting more and more apt to attract onto one person in a smaller community than these big giant like communities of movies and giant corporation things. Like people are taking in media from smaller, quote unquote more pure, I want to say.
Yeah.
Sources.
It's more personal.
They deem more pure. I'm not saying that's better or worse. I'm just saying that's the trend that's happening right now. And I think Twitch is, month after month, they're beating their viewership every month. And they have been for, years now. And it just seems like it's only going up. And, as long as that keeps happening, I think it can be a career. If not, I think it can lead to something else in the video game industry. Like video games aren't going away anytime soon.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely more personal than, like if you go watch a movie, you're not going to be able to contact Tom Cruise. You know what I mean? Like you're never going to really.
Exactly. Exactly. Like you can, if your favorite thing in the world is Mario, you can come on, not just my stream, but what you deem probably the top 5 Mario players in the world. You can go on their stream and straight up ask them questions right now, and it's, I don't know, it's fun to having that, even a built limited access to, these people that are doing things you deem pretty cool. I know I see people all the time where I'm like, holy crap, like this guy's a god. So
what's the biggest like game competition that you go to? Is it like GDQ or is it something else? What's your favorite one?
Well, yeah, GDQ, my favorite one, my favorite game, like event.
Yeah.
Like, speedrunning, we don't have like many competitions. We have like individual races and stuff. And like, I do races at GDQ events and I want to win, But GDQs are all about and GDQ we're telling are games done quick, for anybody out there. It's all about, charity for those events. Like I don't play for it's not like I win and get paid and lose and don't get paid. I don't get paid no matter what because it's for charity. I pay to go to these events. And I love GDQ. I had a really good time. I just went to PAX West, Penny Arcade Expo. That was super fun. I don't know. GDQ is probably my favorite because you have 1,500 speedrunners, and it's mostly just people who do it. It's not necessarily like people who watch speedrunning. It's mostly just people who participate in speedrunning or active in the community in some ways, and streamers a lot. And you kind of just put us all together, and it's like this big 24-hour a day sleepover essentially, where we're all playing board games and video games and watching streams, all the while we're raising millions of dollars for charity.
Yeah, what did you guys raise the last one? SGDQ I think was 1.7 million, and then last AGDQ was 2.1 million. Wow. That's so crazy. Like that's such a huge number. Cause it's all off of Twitch donations, right?
Yeah, all off Twitch donations. And, I was just part of, one this weekend. It's called Smash the Record. We raised 25,000. Next month I'm doing another event called Mario Maker Coliseum. That's happening October 23rd through, 26th on my Twitch channel. And we're going to hopefully raise 50,000. I want to raise 100, but our goal is 50, but I want to raise 100, for, direct relief, which is helping, specifically right now, all the hurricane victims and Harvey, Maria, and Irma. So it's, I don't know. Charity is a really important part of doing this for me personally.
Yeah. Like it's crazy to think about how impactful just playing video games can be on the world. Like people are just, watching and getting interested and cause they like video games, but then are willing to help and donate money towards, making the world a better place.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's really crazy. It's really crazy how generous the people are in the gaming industry. And I think a lot of that has to do with we're always happy at our job.
Yeah.
And even people who make video games, I don't know, I think gamers have this kind of like negative connotation right now. And, in my experience, I feel like we're very far from the toxic
stereotype. Okay.
Yeah.
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 Cause I know playing online is not always the most fun thing if you, don't like getting yelled at. Like, Halo or Call of Duty or something like that. You could get kinda, like, I don't know, we don't have to talk about it, but with the whole PewDiePie thing that just happened.
Yeah.
It, it can turn ugly really quick. And
you know what I would say about, like, it takes 10 guys to have a really good, fun online video game experience in Halo, but it only takes one guy to ruin it.
Yes.
And I think the world, at this point, I used to not believe this, but I think I can safely say like probably at least 1 out of 10 people are kind of, I don't want to say evil people, but I will say
they suck when they don't know.
They suck. Yeah. 1 out of 10 people suck. Yeah, exactly. They just suck. Like they just suck. They're miserable. They want everyone else to be miserable. There's nothing they can do about it. Like, it's just, yes.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of the way to say it without like cursing. Video games are like that. And that's a big problem with gaming when you're opening yourself up to 10. And not just that, like people also suck worse when they're anonymous, like, I had a guy who left very rude YouTube comments to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that same guy came to one event and tried to get a picture with me. I happen to recognize his face, like from his YouTube things, cause I'm petty as heck and like get upset whenever anybody hurts my feelings.
Yeah.
So I like, like that was just a real example. Like he was a douchebag online, but in real life, he wanted my picture. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he wanted to be nice to me. So I just think that also adds to it. being anonymous is a strong piece of armor for a lot of people on the internet. You know?
Yeah.
It just is. Yeah. I mean, it sucks. I wish there was more you could, I think that's like the one thing that's going to be like for online video games, it's going to be really hard is like moderation of them, like letting people play with who they want to play and not play with who they don't. I don't know. I don't get why that's a big deal myself.
Yeah. What I like about PUBG is that you only interact with the people when you're actually interacting with them. Because you're in a thing with 100 different people. Yeah.
Even like, like when you're in that plane though, like you're around everybody and you can hear all voice chat. I had to turn that off. Yeah. Like I turned that off. So it's like I can only hear choice racial slurs so many times in a day. Like I prefer to hear them zero myself, So I hope most people do.
I live in Thailand. And so the servers that I connect to are like the China ones. And so I have no idea what anyone's saying in the plane. It's just a ton of just different languages getting yelled at.
Think about that.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I've always wondered, like, is it the same way in like, is it just an American thing, in Europe thing? Like, is it just an English speaking thing? Cause I've never been in those other servers. So like, are like everyone in the Asia PUBG server also just screaming?
Well, they're definitely screaming.
The worst thing they can see. Yeah, like.
But I don't know what they're screaming half the time. But so we have a rating system on the show. Okay. If you're watching TV and you're just like flipping through the channels and you come on to the wizard, are you going to continue to watch it? Are you going to watch it till commercial? Will you go and like find the movie and put it on so you can start it over? What would you do if it came on?
Oh, that's, to me, that the Wizard is one of the top, like, on TV movies. And there are movies where I would be like, oh, I'd stop and put it on. But this is not one of them. I think you can jump into this movie pretty much at any point in time and kind of get the story. Yeah. More or less. And beyond that, you're going to get hit with a large dose of nostalgia throughout it.
Yes.
Yeah, and it is, it's a little bit long for what it is.
Yeah.
It's 100 minutes. It's not like an 84-minute movie. I know way too much about this movie. I'm sorry. And so it's definitely not a movie that you need to go back to the beginning to every single time, I would say.
Yeah, no, I feel like if I jumped in halfway through, I'd feel pretty comfortable where I was at. Yeah. But that's sometimes a higher compliment to a movie than wanting to start it over.
I think so.
Like if
I think so. There's something to be said about that.
If you can enjoy a movie from any place in the movie, it's kind of like, I'm the same way with Hot Rod. Have you ever seen Hot Rod?
Yeah, Hot Rod's a good one. That's a good on TV movie.
Cause that one's kind of, a ton of short segments. So there's not really like a full on story. So it's a lot easier, but like I could jump into that movie at any point and just enjoy it.
I really like Step Brothers, the edited Step Brothers, which is funny, like, because I think it's more comical when they are like the edited version of it on TV. They like, changing all the curse words.
Oh, gotcha.
To, like,
yeah. I thought you were saying like a director's cut or something like that.
No. Like get the frick out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So traveling from Thailand to the States, it's like a 20-hour plane ride total over the course of 2 planes. So I watch a ton of edited movies, and the first time I saw Batman Begins, they cut out all the drug scenes with the flower that the Scarecrow uses. So I had no idea what was going on. Like there was just this huge chunk of the movie left out, like that was vital to the plot. And I was like, this is the weirdest movie. I don't understand why people are freaking out. I don't get what's going on at all. The same happened with The Wolf of Wall Street. So that's a 3-hour movie, but on the plane, it's about 2. There's a ton of stuff that got left out.
Well, yeah, I mean, if they're cutting out drug use, that's 90% of that movie right there. So.
Yeah. Well, so how can people find you again? What's the best way to get hold of you?
You can find me on twitch.tv /GrandPOOBear, youtube.com, GrandPOOBear. Instagram or Twitter, GrandPOOBear. Those ones. P-O-O, no H, bear, all one word. And, I play Mario fast. That's what I do.
Where did you get the name GrandPOOBear?
Okay, so here's the thing, is that I make up a new story for this every time somebody asks me this in chat, because the real story is super boring.
Okay. Well, if you don't want to share it, you don't have to. You can keep it a mystery.
It's very much like.
Were you on the toilet when you decided it?
No. It had nothing. It's mostly just a play off the GrandPOOBear.
Okay.
It's like a play off the GrandPOOBear, but that was taken on Xbox Live, and I thought I was going to play a lot of sports games because I play a lot of sports games offline.
Yeah.
So I thought I was going to be part of my stream, so I wanted my Xbox Live name to match my stream name. So that's the real story, but the better fake story is that my best friend, Christopher Robin, growing up, was always around. And so my mom eventually just started calling me, and everyone started calling me Pooh Bear since I always hung out with Christopher Robin.
There you go.
That's a much better made up story.
Yeah, it's convenient to have a name that you can transfer to everything that no one else is really using.
It actually works out really good. Like it was working out really good, and then there's this rapper named Pooh Bear who just did a song with Skrillex, or music producer, I guess. He just did a song with Skrillex either way. And now I get a bunch of tweets, mostly from Latin America, that confuse our Twitter accounts.
There you go.
And saying they really like my music, which is nice, but it's not me. So,
if you ever want to get into the music game, you've already got a following.
That is the one good thing about it, though. Like I have a backup career ready to go, hopefully. So.
Well, man, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing the wizard with me. That was an experience for sure.
Absolutely, man. Thank you so much.